Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. As always, another big breaking trade in the NHL as Matt Murray of the Ottawa Senators has been traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs in a cap dump trade, as the Maple Leafs will be receiving, on top of Matt Murray himself, a 2023 third round pick and a 2024 seventh round pick. Matt Murray will be coming to Toronto at 25% retained, so his cap hit will not actually be 6.25, but closer to 4.7. I believe officially 4.68 million. So, initial reaction to this trade, it's a very interesting one, as Toronto is definitely looking for a starting goalie. But the question remains, and it will remain for a little while: is Matt Murray a starting goaltender still in the NHL? I definitely believe in Matt Murray, but this is quite the not the price tag. But as Jacob says here, what was the point of trading Peter Mrazek then? Because the Maple Leafs dump Peter Mrazek. This is a tweet that I put out earlier when this trade dropped about 10 minutes ago. What is the point of trading Peter Mrazek if this is what you go for? So Toronto trade away Mrazek at 3.8 million, only take on a goalie whose salary cap, his cap hit is 900,000 more for 2 more years, for the next 2 years, and you move down from pick 25 to 38. So you move down 13 selections to dump a goalie at 3.8, only take on a goalie at 4.7 and get back a third and a seventh. I'm not sure if I like this deal for the Toronto Maple Leafs, really. It's really the definition of a boom or bust kind of deal. And if you're wondering about if you want to see that trade here, so Toronto trades away their first to dump Mrazek, only to take on a goalie with a higher cap hit, who is debatably worse. So essentially get Murray at 4.7, the 30th overall pick, a 2023 third, a 2024 seventh, in exchange for moving the 25th overall pick, and Mrazek, who in my opinion is better and cheaper. So it's a I don't know, it's a curious move. It's a curious move, and thank you to Mackenzie here, who just saw the Slavkovsky career simulation. Thank you very much. And Mark, good point here. If Jack Campbell's only going to cost around 5.5 million, why not take a chance on Jack Campbell being your starter? Matt Murray, it's, if things don't work out, you put him on LTIR or whatever, it's still money and it's still a roster spot. Who's going to be your starting goaltender? So it's a good point. What was the point of trading Peter Mrazek? So let's look at the numbers right here. Matt Murray, I believe in Matt Murray. Don't get me wrong. He's 28. He has 2 Stanley Cups. He's played less than 250 games in the NHL. I believe in Matt Murray. But do you trade away a better option and go all in on a guy who has a history of difficult play plus injuries? Good numbers. Yeah, he was okay in those 2 games in the AHL, but in the NHL, the last couple of years with Ottawa, I'm talking about, has not been great. And part of that is, yes, it's the Ottawa Senators. They went, 15, 25 and 3 with the Senators, it looks like, with a save percentage hovering around 900 and a goals against average above 3, closer to 3.1 something like that. Even with the Penguins, not the craziest numbers, but the first 2-3 years of his career, even 4 years, he was looking good, and he has the potential to be a great goalie in the NHL. Don't get me wrong. He has that potential. I like him very much. I think this trade could be great. And that's exactly what Wesley says right here. This may turn out to be an absolutely amazing trade for the Leafs, or it becomes an absolute disaster that could very lead to the firing of Kyle Dubas, because goaltending has been an issue for Toronto for a while now. As good as Jack Campbell has been, he hasn't always been consistent. And I'm not going to say that's why they got eliminated. I'm just saying in general, their struggles, because he was very good in the playoffs, Jack Campbell was. And that, and on top of you have some other free agency questions here on top of Jack Campbell. Dexter is excited about when Johnny Hockey may be coming to the Devils. Sounds like the Islanders are going to be pursuing him as well, maybe the Flyers. So free agency: Malkin, Gaudreau, Klingberg, Samsonov. I can't remember a free agency with that I had this many fish in it, I don't think. But it's curious for sure, and it may spell the end of Kyle Dubas. I don't know, because he's really putting all his eggs in Matt Murray's basket. Looking at the cap situation here now, Matt Murray, he is making 4.687 as 25% retained by the Ottawa Senators. It's for 2 more years, modified trade clause. It's interesting because yes, Toronto had Toronto had some leverage because Ottawa Matt Murray was the only team. Excuse me. Matt Murray only really wanted to go to Toronto, so the Maple Leafs should have had some leverage in that way. Yet they only get Ottawa to retain 25%. You would think that they could have gotten 50% retained when Matt Murray was the man holding all the cards and he said, let's go to Toronto, right? So that's a bit curious in my opinion right here. Does Matt Murray's contract overlap does with Matthews' contract expiry? If so, yeah. So we'll check that out. I'll look at the cap situation for the Maple Leafs right now. So the Maple Leafs have Shalgren and Murray next season. Yes, I was reading, though, according to the TSN insiders, the Maple Leafs are looking for another goalie at a reasonable cap hit. So I don't think they're ready to put all their eggs in Shalgren's basket as the backup. Looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs now, let's see their cap situation, because this is, I think, what really interests me. They're already at projected cap hit of 76.139. So the cap space is down to 6.36 million. Matt Murray is going to go until the end of 2023-24. That's going to be the same year as Austin Matthews' expiry. So it's not a big deal. It's not like he goes into 2024-25. Not as big of a deal there. But we still have Pierre-Engvall is going to get qualified, I believe. Kasha is going to free agency. Makhayev's not coming back. So we have $6 million pretty much to get a little bit of forward depth. But then you also got to sign up Rasmus Sandin, and you want to get a backup goalie. It's not the end of the world. I can see Toronto making this work for sure, but it's going to be tight. And two, you really better hope that Matt Murray is going to perform as a goalie making 4.687, because he has shown the capability to do that, but not recently. And Toronto does not get much of a sweetener to take that risk. That's what I don't like about this trade. Usually trades like this mean you're going to get a big sweetener and you take the risk. And if it doesn't work out, hey, you got a first round pick, you got a prospect out of it. But to take this trade and your only sweetener is a third and a seventh on top of you just dumped your first to get rid of Marachek. So if you're just joining us, I'm going to recap what I said at the beginning here. Toronto, they essentially traded away their first and moved down 13 picks to dump Peter Marachek, who is debatably better, and he is cheaper. So they take on a potentially worse and more expensive goalie after they drop down 13 picks. Who knows? We'll look back on this in a few years and see who's that 25th overall pick that Toronto passed on. And they get a third and a seventh for their trouble. It's not no big whoop, in my opinion. For all their trouble, a third and a seventh. So while I'm talking here, I want to pull up some graphics from JFresh. JFresh always has the great numbers for us. I want to see what Matt Murray's projected WAR and all stuff like that is. If I could pull it up for a moment, because JFresh always puts a little bit of analytics to it with top-down hockey and here it is. Projected wins above replacement percentile of 20th. So here you go. Numbers speak for themselves. He has the rebound control, great. Low danger, he does all right. But high danger, oof. Medium danger, even worse. Even strength, not great. Quality starts, really not great either. Excellent starts, hey, it sounds like it's going to be excellent or it's going to be not. It's quality starts. It's not going to be good. It's going to be excellent or it's going to be not so much. On the penalty kill, he seems solid. If he's getting bombarded by the Senators' penalty kill not doing enough for him, then great. Low danger, no problem. He is a good goalie. But I don't know if I like this for Toronto, which is a team that, I don't know if I want to say notorious, but I wouldn't say the Toronto Maple Leafs defense is the strongest in the NHL. Morgan Rielly is great. He's a guy who should get Norris votes pretty much year in and year out. Jake Muzzin is solid when healthy. Brody, he's okay. I like Brody. Justin Hall, Liljegren, great year. Giordano's getting old. Sandin's good if he signs back. I don't want to be harsh on Maple Leafs, but I don't think that their defense is especially comforting. And to have Matt Murray between the pipes as opposed to Jack Campbell at a little more expensive or Peter Marachek at a little cheaper, I don't think I like this move for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So now here's the question. With all that cap space, what does Ottawa do? I wonder what the Sens will do with the cap space. They seem to be aggressive. Could they go for Samsonov? So now what I want to do next is pull up the Ottawa Senators salary cap situation before we wrap this video up. As you know, these breaking news videos are usually a bit shorter. Can I see Ottawa right here, or do I have to click on here? Let's go. Teams, because they have well over 20 million to play with right now. Looking at the Ottawa Senators, they're going to be moving in for Claude Giroux, maybe looking at a goalie. They're going to be fighting to be playoff contenders next year. They have 23.869 million to play with, 23.87 basically. wild. And yeah, like next year they're going to need that money to re-sign some of these guys, but for right now, they have, and you're not bringing back Hamonic at 3 million. It's okay. You can let those guys go. You're not bringing back Del Zotto at 2 million. That'll be even more money to play with next year. So is Philip Gustafsson your full-time backup next year? He could be, or he doesn't have to be. He could be if you're in a tight situation, but you're not in a tight situation. So Gustafsson does not have to be your backup if you don't feel like it. You can make Forsberg be a fringe starter. You can go after a starter, or you can go after someone a bit lesser. It's too bad Mikko Koskinen went to Europe because the market would have been there for him. I was reading about that earlier today. I wanted to say here, Formenton, Joseph, Norris, all these guys need contracts. That's going to bite into the 23.86. But going into free agency, or even going into the season if they did nothing, I believe that the Senators will have well over 10 million to play with. At least enough money to make one big splash. You can get a Claude Giroux. You can get a starting goalie. And it only cost them, again, a third next year and a seventh the year after. That's all it cost them to get even more cap flexibility. So I like this deal for the Senators. It's too bad they had to, they made a mistake on Matt Murray, but they've remedied it. But it's a bit mind-boggling that the Maple Leafs did that. They didn't get more of a sweetener and only 25% retained. That's what I'm coming away with right now. Sens trading for JVR and going to recoup the picks they sent out with Murray. That could be a man can hope and pray. I like it. That's not a bad idea. In our franchise mode, we traded out JVR. So I could see the Flyers doing that this offseason. The summer of Pierre Dorion continues. You thought the summer of George was good? Welcome to the summer of Dorion. So to wrap it up now we're up to almost 30 people. I just want to wrap up my final thoughts on this one. Matt Murray doesn't look great. I do believe in him, but it's lots of upside, but also lots of risk. Very well said there by Jay Fresh. I believe in him, but do you really put all your eggs in the basket of a belief or a hope? Essentially, Toronto trades down 13 picks to dump a better goalie, making less money, to only recoup a third and a seventh to get a goalie who's making more, who wanted to come to your team. You held all the cards in your hand, and you only got 25% retained. I don't know what Pierre Dorion's doing, but he's looking good out there. He is looking good out there. Wesley, I'm no Sens fan, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited by the overall aggressiveness that Ottawa has shown so far and the potential for some bigger moves. And I definitely agree with that. I don't know where it's coming from. It might have to do with the passing of Eugene Melnyk, that there's more money that is open to being used. I have no idea. I can't speak to that. I don't know the internal politics of the Ottawa Senators well enough. But regardless, the Ottawa Senators are more aggressive than I think I've ever seen them in recent memory. And they will be aggressive in free agency with well over 20 million to play with. Sign up Norris, sign up Formenton, great. I think they'll still have 8, 9, 10 plus million, depending on what kind of deals they're doing here, bridge deals or what. They'll have good money to use, and they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot next season. Now the question is to all of you, what do you think about this trade? Down in the comments here once we end the stream, what do you think about this trade? Do you think the Maple Leafs are really in a bad spot? Do you think that Kyle Dubas' job could be hinging on this trade going well and the performance of Matt Murray? Claude Giroux coming home, it could be. Giroux, who are the Ottawa Senators' targets? I'd love to hear back from all of you. I'm going to wrap it up there. Just a little instant analysis video that can be watched back later. That's what I love about these streams. They can go on YouTube. They can be watched later on, as opposed to me just talking to no one and then editing it and uploading it. I can talk live to all of you and interact, and you can go back and access it later. So speaking of those live streams, we also have my reaction to the first 16 picks or 17 picks of the 2022 draft, my instant analysis of the Alex DeBrincat trade, as well as many other data casts on the channel, and especially the most recent video, the Yuri Slavkovsky NHL 22 career simulation. So if you haven't already subscribed, be sure to check out the channel, and we would love to have you join the team. All this, NHL 22 franchise mode, and much, much more. The channel is very much stronger when we have more people in it working with us. So it would be that much sweeter to have you a part of the channel. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this one right here. Wesley, a Flyers fan, thinks that Giroux would give him a reason to cheer for Ottawa. True. Ottawa, I don't mind Ottawa. I don't mind them. They're close to me. They're closest geographical team after the Canadiens to me. So I wouldn't mind them doing well. It's good to see them doing well. So I'll wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this breakdown. Leave your thoughts on all of my thoughts, the thoughts on the thoughts down in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we'd love to have you join the team. And I think that all this content on the channel is exactly what you would like as well if you're watching this one. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen, and I look forward to reading your thoughts and seeing you again in the next one.